Have you ever watched your quiet dream home turn into the set of a crime thriller? That's what it felt like. The morning two men in knockoff police uniforms slapped cuffs on me on my own front porch, while the woman behind them, self-appointed queen of our block, smirked like she'd already won. They thought they were humiliating another timid homeowner into submission. They didn't know I was the chief of police, and they had just made the worst mistake of their lives. 3 weeks earlier, everything had looked perfect. I stood in my new living room, breathing in fresh paint and possibility. After 20 years on the force, 15 with SWAT, 5 as chief, this place was supposed to be a reset. The oaks arched over the street like cathedral beams, lawns were green and tidy, strangers waved, a young family brought cookies, Duke across the street laughed loud and hauled a leaf blower like it was a family heirloom. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. My grandfather, who taught me to fish, to shoot straight, and to separate real order from petty rules, would have told me to check the fence line first. This neighborhood had no fences, trust felt like the fence line, I liked that. Then the first splash of red ink landed under my windshield wiper. Violation notice. My grass, it claimed, was a 1/4 inch too high. $50 fine. Section 4, paragraph B. The kind of citation meant to sound official to anyone who never set foot in a records office. Signed by Karen Van Fleet, President, Oak Street Homeowners Association. I ignored it, which was a mistake. The next day, 2 more notices appeared, one for the lawn again, another because my trash can had been visible 3 hours past pickup. The language hardened, immediate compliance, further action, lien. I looked at my yard, looked at neighbors' yards, saw no difference, except the red paper on my truck. I'd seen this pattern 1,000 times. A pocket tyrant invents rules to feel bigger than they are. A few days later, I watched a woman with sharp features and a level-a-picture frame haircut stop in front of my house and mark something on a clipboard. We locked eyes. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. The message was clear. She believed she had power here. The next morning, I drove past my office and straight to the county clerk. Marble floors, dust, the comforting smell of permanent ink. Truth lives in buildings like that. I asked for the incorporation papers and covenants for the Oak Street Homeowners Association. The clerk searched once, twice, 3 times, then looked over her glasses and said the thing I already suspected: no such entity existed in the county. None ever had. No covenants filed with the original plat, no bylaws, nothing. You'd be surprised how often someone prints letterhead and tries to rule a block, she said. Most people just pay so they don't make waves. I asked for a certified statement of the search results. When the documents came back, raised seal, official letterhead, the weight of the truth in my hand, I could have walked home and ended it in 5 minutes. But scaring a wolf off for a day doesn't protect the sheep. You build a case that cages the wolf. That night, I turned my house into an observation post. Discreet exterior cameras tied to my private server. A shirt button swapped for a high-fidelity mic with a 50-foot range. A simple black ring on my finger, panic button, 2 taps to spin up live audio and video feeds to Lieutenant Danny Reyes, my best tactician, plus a ping to Boone, my steadiest driver, to roll an unmarked unit if things went sideways. I called Duke and the cookie-bringing family and asked them, from the safety of their windows, to film if anything odd unfolded at my place. Good neighbors don't have to be brave, they just have to be watching. The crescendo came fast. Another red notice threatened a $500 fine, a lien, and legal action. None of it had legal teeth, but fear rarely reads statutes. The next morning, an oversized, tinted SUV slid to the curb. 2 men climbed out in navy shirts with shiny shields and surplus store belts. From a distance, they looked passable. Up close, the crests were wrong, numbers mismatched, and their movements lacked the economy cops learned the hard way. Karen stepped out behind them, blazer crisp, clipboard clutched like a scepter. They pounded the door. I opened it with the confused but cooperative look I'd practiced on 1,000 scenes. "We have a warrant," the big one said, holding up a forgery stamped with a judge's name who'd been retired 5 years. The charge was a fiction, criminal defiance of community bylaws. I raised my hands and let them cuff me. Quiet compliance confuses bullies. It also records better. As they walked me down the path, Their little perp walk. Neighbors filmed. Duke's curtains twitched. The young mom's phone peered through blinds. I smiled at Karen, a small look that said, "You have no idea what you've just done." At the SUV, my cuffed hands brushed the bumper and a tiny magnet kissed metal, a live GPS tracker I'd palmed earlier. I dipped my thumb against the ring. 1 tap, 2. Miles away, Danny's screens lit, live exterior feeds, live button mic audio, the moving dot of a felony in progress. The goons drove, bragged, and phoned into K-Boss. Threats came easy to them. They said I'd pay the fines, forget this ever happened, and keep quiet. Every syllable landed on my mic. They turned toward the industrial park, the same kind of place I've used for controlled vehicle takedowns because it's all long sight lines and low traffic. A battered construction van pulled out ahead and braked hard. The SUV screeched. Behind us, a sedan closed the gap. Boone's truck slid up on our flank. Doors flew open. Real officers moved like water, measured, overlapping commands. Police. Hands where I can see them. The goons froze. The cuffs on my wrists clicked open, real steel closed on theirs. In the glove box, we found stacks of red notices with blanks ready for offense and fine, plus crude maps with houses circled. Under a seat sat a lockbox with wads of cash rubber banded and tagged with addresses, a handful of cheap fake badges, and a 9mm with the serial number filed off. Federal time, state time, stacked like cordwood. The burner phone in the door was the thread we needed. With a warrant, our techs pulled the last outgoing call to a number labeled K-Boss, registered to Karen Van Fleet, and a text 20 minutes later, "Is it done? Is the trash taken out?" Not the language of a misunderstanding. The language of someone who treats people like refuse. The key ring on the visor gave us the rest, a stamped brass tag for a storage unit. With warrants live, we rolled to a sprawling complex of orange doors, slid a key into Unit 218, and breathed in the stale smell of ink and paper. Inside wasn't furniture. It was an office. Industrial printer. Reams of red stock. Filing cabinets labeled by neighborhood. In the Oak Street drawer, my file sat on top, with my closing price, tax records, copies of every notice, and notes about new residents and soft targets. Other drawers listed whole neighborhoods, Willow Creek, Pine Ridge, Maple Lane. Dozens of files clipped to photocopies of checks, cash receipts, threats. One elderly widow had paid over $2,000 in a year for holiday decor past deadline and non-compliant mailbox color. In the bottom cabinets, we found the templates, forged county letterheads, fake lien forms, photocopied judge signatures, everything needed to terrify the average homeowner into paying to get their piece back. By evening, we were watching Karen hold a board meeting in her garage, her voice sharp behind the door as she scolded nervous neighbors playing along as officers in her little kingdom. We moved from Duke's backyard. Quiet approach, side door, hinge pop, flood the room. She toppled a podium and sprinted for the interior door. Boone, an oak tree in boots, cut her off. She twisted, kicked, and screamed, "I am the president of the HOA." I clicked real cuffs on her wrists and read charges that actually exist: extortion, criminal impersonation, conspiracy, racketeering, forgery of a government seal. The garage filled with red and blue. The street filled with neighbors who had lived too long with whispers and red paper. They watched their queen ride away in the back of a patrol car while real officers sealed the scene. The case moved fast because the story was airtight, video from multiple angles, body mic audio, the tracker trail, the SUV loaded with cash and props, the storage unit factory, the burner linking orders to K-Boss, the files of victims, and the bank records from her shell LLCs, one account alone holding over $250,000 in deposits that matched those checks. Her hired muscle pled out, one of them on the weapons charge plus state counts for impersonation and kidnapping. Karen faced the music in a courtroom where paper finally outweighed bluster. The judge called it what it was, a campaign of intimidation against her own neighbors. He handed down 15 years in federal custody, 3 years supervised release, a permanent ban from any HOA or property roll, forfeiture of printers, plates, the SUV, and every account tied to the scam. Restitution started rolling. Liens were voided. Names were cleared. The state set up a hotline. More victims called in from adjoining towns. 2 copycat boards fell in the next week. Same red paper, same fear. Not anymore. A month later, I drank coffee on my porch while sunlight climbed the railing. Kids laughed down the block. Duke waved over the hum of his mower. No red slips. No whispered threats. Just the small sounds of a street that belongs to the people who live on it. My grandfather's photo sits on the mantel, him in his uniform, stern eyes with a spark. He believed rules should serve people, not the other way around. On my desk at the station, we keep one of her fake badges sealed in a training kit. Recruits learn to spot forgeries. Citizens learn how to preserve phone video, how to file clean reports, how to make waves when the waves are called for. It's a reminder that a badge isn't a costume. It's trust earned daily. She tried to run this block with fear and pretend authority. We answered with facts, witnesses, and the law, slow, steady, final. The quiet I bought the house for is back. Not the kind that hides trouble, the kind you earn. The fence line is clear again, even though there's no fence. And if anyone tries the same game on this street, they won't meet a fake board. They'll meet the truth.